Hi, my name is Sarah Whaling, and I'm a life and relationship coach certified in integrated attachment theory and specializing in reprogramming attachment styles, healing from narcissistic relationships, and healing the subconscious mind, which is a step past awareness in the healing process when lasting change is created for the life that we want. Jumping right in, what is loneliness? The American Psychological Association defines it as cognitive discomfort or uneasiness from being or perceiving oneself to be alone and the emotional distress we feel when our inherent needs for intimacy and companionship are not met. So, what causes pervasive feelings of loneliness? How can, in some cases, someone be surrounded by family and friends and feel lonely? Occasional loneliness can be a completely normal experience, but pervasive loneliness can indicate some very unmet needs and/or unhealed perceptions. There are only two reasons why we emotionally feel pain. Number one, unmet needs, and number two, painful stories we tell ourselves, i.e., perceptions. If we feel both of these things chronically, it can lead to quite a bit of suffering. Feeling one or both of these things on a regular basis can lead to depression. Chronic loneliness can lead to depression. So, what are some reasons a person can feel lonely? Here are three major reasons why someone could be experiencing chronic loneliness. Reason number one, quality of your connections. So, what constitutes quality connection with others? The first ingredient is truly allowing yourself to be seen. This involves vulnerability for depth of connection. Quality connection is not superficial connection. Quality connection is about authenticity. Quality connection is allowing yourself to be deeply known to the person you are connecting with. It is teaching the people in your life how to properly care for you. One ingredient of self love is to get to know yourself so you know how to properly care for yourself. Teaching others how to properly care for you involves letting them know you. Quality connection involves vulnerably voicing your boundaries for this to happen. Quality connections allow for you to express needs. And of course, there is the ingredient of presence, because without that, none of this can be received. Research shows that it is not about quantity, it is about quality. Having a few very good connections has an enormous impact on preventing loneliness versus having many surface level connections. Reason number two, lack of quality self connection. So, what is quality self connection? I will sum it up in one sentence. Quality self connection is being present with yourself, just like the key ingredient from the other person in the first reason. This means really being present with your emotions, allowing yourself to feel them and sit with them. What can this look like? This could be taking the time to regularly journal. It can be meditation, where you just sit for a period of time on a regular basis and just witness your thoughts. If journaling and meditation are not for you, it can be simply paying attention and allowing yourself to feel your emotions and just sit with them. Quality self connection is actively listening to yourself. We can illustrate this by the example of a good friend coming to your home to visit. A lot has been going on in your life. Well, it wouldn't be a very good connection if this friend that came over was sitting on your couch halfways listening, with their face buried in their phone, scrolling social media, and drowning out your conversation. You would probably be feeling very unheard, neglected, and invalidated at this point. And this brings me to what quality self connection is not. Quality self connection is not drowning yourself out. Quality self connection is not spending time alone and numbing and ignoring your emotions and thoughts through distracting behaviors. Examples of this include the aforementioned scrolling of social media, video games, binging shows. Numbing can involve an addictive, compulsive component. This can include, but is not limited to, binge eating, pornography, drinking, or any kind of mind altering substances. It can include activities that the individual does not deem harmful and are seen as acceptable, but they use this thing over here to distract them from what is going on over here so that over here is not dealt with. Dismissive avoidance can often be guilty of this, since numbing and shutting down and overall doing what they can to not feel their emotions is a huge behavioral coping mechanism for them. Many unhealed dismissive avoidants will think that they have good self connection because they think, I spend a lot of time by myself doing X activity, but they aren't ever truly present and available to themselves. Fearful avoidants who lean dismissive can also do this. One good example of quality self connection is being able to recognize and reflect on a situation in your life that bothered you and then coming up with a solution to solve for it. Reason number 3, you have a negative belief or core wound that is taking away from the meeting of your connection need. Our beliefs color the world around us. Our beliefs are vital in the process of meeting psychological needs. Now, I'm going to give a silly example. I want you to imagine for a second that you have a psychological need for this pen right here. Someone in your life gives you this pen. If you have a hardwired belief that this pen is not a pen, you're not going to feel like your need for getting a pen has been met. This is an example of how our subconscious beliefs affect our ability to receive our intangible needs and create holes in our cup. I'll illustrate this with another example. Imagine that you have a cup that represents the fulfilling of your need for connection. We talk about our cup being full or trying to pour from an empty cup. Let's say that today you had a good, connected conversation on the phone with a friend or family member. That poured some connection into your cup. A little bit later, you find out that some of your friends are getting together, but you never got the memo, and they made plans without you. For the purpose of this example, let's say that you have the core wound, I am excluded. Whereas someone without this core wound might not be bothered by this scenario, someone with it might find the scenario very painful. If this person with this core wound has a high need for connection in their list of personality needs, and they are now telling themselves painful stories about why the need is not getting met, they are now suffering to a pretty big degree. Remember, in the beginning of this video, we talked about the only 2 reasons we feel emotional pain is unmet needs and painful stories, i.e., things we tell ourselves based on our beliefs. And this person is now experiencing both of those things. There are a handful of scenarios in which this can happen in terms of a hole in your cup. You can imagine the I am excluded core wound puncturing the side of the connection cup and creating a hole. It is now harder to fill and actively taking away from anything that is there. Another thing that can happen in regards to core wounds and loneliness is you can have certain core wounds that stop you from actioning getting your connection need met altogether from other people. For example, if you have the core wound, I am disliked or I will be disliked, it can just stop you from attempting to engage in connection with others. This also can happen with the I am rejected or I will be rejected core wound. I will be doing a future video that deep dives into the majority of the core wounds that are connected to loneliness, how to recognize them, and how they affect our connection needs. So stay tuned for that. So since we are talking about connection needs, I have 3 very special guests today. Research has shown there to be so many links between components of mental health and having pets. In particular with cats, research has shown that cats have the power to sense their owner's emotions. So they have the ability to know when we are feeling down. I will say that with this first guest, I experienced this firsthand. I had just gotten the news of the passing of a friend, and as I cried, he stood next to me and actually started freaking out, doing this long meow cry. I can say from many firsthand experiences, actually, that this is true. Everyone meet Annie. Say hi, Annie. This boy is 2 years old, getting close to 3, and he is the gentlest giant you will ever meet. He is an extremely loving boy, and he actually sleeps in the bed every night. He is a big boy, but he is in very good shape. He is fast. Uh-oh. Oh my goodness. He is fast and loves to play. Lasers are his favorite, and he has an affinity for sinks and dry bathtubs. All right, and this next guest is Obi. He is actually Annie's brother. He is our silly, sometimes shy, playful, very loving boy. He doesn't sleep in the bed, but he is almost nightly jumps onto the bed right before he goes to his basket just to say goodnight. He's a good boy. That's a good boy, Obi. Obi, come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Come here. And our third guest today is Cookie. She is 1 year and 4 months old. We actually rescued her. She was born in our backyard. And then about 7 months ago, we found her in our front yard in need of medical attention. Um, she had an ulcer on her side and she needed flea treatment for starters. So we took her to the vets immediately and got everything we needed to nurse her back to health. And she has absolutely blossomed since. We actually think she's the runt of the litter, Cookie, because at this point she's still so tiny, but she has an enormous personality. She's always kind of showing the boys who's boss. She is a feisty girl sometimes, but they're always playing together and they really love each other. They all sleep next to each other regularly and groom each other. It's amazing how they're all just family now. All right, Cookie. All right. Okay. Well, I hope that you found this video helpful in terms of pinpointing the origin and solving for loneliness. If you found this video helpful, it would really mean a lot to me if you could give it a like. And if you find the content of this channel helpful, I invite you to subscribe. I will be doing future videos on the topic of loneliness, so stay tuned for more, and thanks for watching.